And welcome back to Gazbot in Japan. This is day 5. I was starting the day leaving from Akihabara. I had my peanut butter bar that I had brought from home since I'm a vegetarian, and some royal milk tea, which was a good caffeine boost that you could get at the vending machine in the hotel. Stopped at a little convenience store. You could see they had Gundam brand razors, and they had Gundam brand... I don't even remember. I think these were razor head holders, and they had Sailor Moon stuff. Here you can see in the Dragon Ball hair pomade, brand everything. It's awesome.
Hey, it's me, Gazbot, and today is, I believe, day 5. Haven't been able to do a lot of videos. It's kind of crazy here. We've been exhausted every day, and there's not a lot of places that aren't crowded enough that I won't be bumping into people and getting dirty looks from pulling out my camera at all, let alone filming myself. Now it's about 9 in the morning. I'm in Akihabara, or Akihabara, depending on how it's pronounced, in Tokyo. Q wanted to relax a little bit and sleep in. I kind of do too, but I don't want to waste a second of it. My goal was to come here and check out some more of the toy stores that we haven't seen, because there's a ton here. Well, there's a ton in the country, but there's a ton right here in Akihabara. And instead, I'm kind of wandering the streets. It's kind of desolate. Most people are already at work, so like the rush hour's over, and it's a weekday, and it's kind of cool to just wander around, take pictures of buildings. Things don't really open up here until 10 or 11, which is weird, you know. So I figured I'd get up and get a jump on things, and instead I'm just gonna wander around and check stuff out. So yeah. I don't know if you can tell or not, but this billboard, the boobs are 3D. So, This Sega building is something that was actually open till 11:30 last night, which again, things aren't open terribly late or terribly early, but it was great because the basement was all Gundam and Dragon Ball Z machines, and we didn't get out of the basement. There's tons of billboards like this everywhere, and it definitely gives a feeling of being at Comic-Con in this entire town, including tons of walking and some regular people that don't understand why I'm taking video of billboards. This is a pachinko parlor. They're super deluxe. This is the second one I've seen this morning, and they've all got lines.
This is me taking sort of a circular shot of the downtown area, but also to get a better shot of the gigantic lines at these pachinko parlors, which are basically, must be compulsive gamblers waking up early on a weekday to stand online and play there. It's weird. The pachinko parlor, it seems, opens earlier than the toy stores, and that is wrong, because addiction to plastic crack is more important than addiction to gambling. I'm not sure what this is. It looks like it might be a fun store, and like all the rest, it's closed. I actually walked into one and the guy kicked me out. I guess he was cleaning. There's another store that is not open. Toys Golden Age, which looks fantastic, especially being right next to the dental clinic. And while it was closed, I did take some pictures of the cool display. You can see they had some Ultraman, some Power Ranger Sentai stuff. That's Kamen Rider Decade, I think. One of the Kamen Riders and a Gundam. And this was all just stuff that was in the window to advertise the awesomeness that was inside. Combatler and, yeah, basically a lot of vintagey goodness.
I was walking up Chuodori Avenue, and I got to this building. It doesn't look as exciting. I'm thinking I might have reached the end of the Epic Toy area. Once again, I'm struck by how few cars. This is a weekday, like 9:30, in downtown Akihabara, which is part of Tokyo. And like, there's a few cars, but it's crazy. I love it. Pedestrians seem to rule here. Also, because it's not crowded right now, even though my feet are normally killing me, it's nice. I'm walking at a normal stride. It's not that weird shuffle that just destroys your feet. Also, darts. The pub throwing darts seems to be pretty popular here. It's unrelated, but I just saw another store for it. So this is for something called Home Cafe, which might be one of those, might be a regular cafe with a theme, or it might be like a hostess cafe, I don't know. But this is one of those thrills where I could read the hiragana. This is Okaeri Nasai Imasu, which basically means welcome home or welcome back. And being able to read stuff like that makes me happy. What's become more popular than traditional arcades are these grab games or UFO catcher games with prizes. This one is pretty kawaii or cutesy. but I've seen them all over. This Charlie Brown looking astronaut guy is apparently the mascot, or at least the attraction for a watch store? Duty-free store. Duty-free store. He's Duty-Free Brown.
So I basically was walking back down the same street and decided to take some pictures of the various architecture and signs. And as I said before, the whole thing felt like being in some video game or a Blade Runner thing. Or it just reminded me a lot of Comic-Con. If you haven't been to Comic-Con, this is kind of what it's like, sort of like a Mardi Gras for nerds. And I really enjoyed this day. It was a bummer that Q wasn't with me, although she joined me later, but just walking around while everything was quiet and just being able to really look at stuff and not, be in a hurry, and I don't know, just made me feel like, if I really lived in Japan, today would be like a normal, just whatever day in Japan. That's crazy, by the way. Turn my nipple breast to get the toy. And you can see I'm taking pictures. Everything is closed. It's a cosplay shop. They had a few of those. I didn't actually go into any. I was curious, but I was oddly intimidated. Yeah, what I noticed happening, I'm taking these pictures and I'm heading back, things are slowly starting to open up. And the traffic starts increasing as well as the foot traffic and the cars. And I guess everything's just on a different schedule, because by like 10 or 11 o'clock, it actually started getting busy like a city like you'd expect. So unbeknownst to me, I got this special hour or two of golden time where I was one of the only people on the streets walking around looking at stuff. And it was really quite nice. I came around like a big circle, and I sort of came back in a back way, and I sort of got lost for a second. Although it's really hard to get lost, I sort of allowed myself to get lost, and I just followed cool-looking signs, and I'm like, look at this crazy guy. And as I followed the alleyway through to that, you can see it says Animate, which is like a huge anime store, and so I was off the main drag, but I was on a side street that was running to a street parallel, and it was all just full of nerdy stuff. And I'm like, oh, video games, and I just kept following, and it just brought me right back into the heart of everything that is nerd and great. I just took a picture of this. I thought it was odd. There was a Mickey Mouse on the little soda fruit juice thing, which we don't really even see in America either. And then salt and fruit. Who wouldn't want some salt and fruit? It's funny, I would get like 3 drinks and hate 2 of them and really love the third, so there's a lot of experimentation. This was an electronics store, but I thought their logo looked like the slime from Dragon Warrior. And this is an awesome Super Robot crossover game that is not available on American platforms. There's a lot of cool video games that I was tempted to get and didn't, obviously. This is Tokyuger, which is the Super Sentai, which is what we know as Power Rangers, the second newest one when I was there. And it wasn't Christmas or even near Christmas, but this Gigantor, who's also known as Techu, whatever, he had garland on him. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. There was a Colonel Sanders statue that they would not let you take a picture with, so I just took a picture of that. Don't remember why I took a picture of this building, but hey, look, Japanese buildings. And I started coming back around to the main area. Again, I said I sort of came in a back way. Here's a big Apple store, a lot of electronics and pachinko, mostly pachinko, I think, actually, now that I remember. I think this was, I don't remember what this was. I thought it was just a cool-looking building, I guess. And this is the Sega building where I was playing video games the night before, and there's a bunch of gashpon and vending machines outside. And I went ahead and went in, and they had these cool Pacific Rim little gashpons. I didn't get any because they're tiny, and I feel like Super Robot should be giant. And then I went inside, and let's take a quick look at that. So this is the top floor of the Sega building in Akihabara, and this robot game on the right I'd played previously, and it was pretty awesome. It saves your guy, and you can upgrade, and has kind of interesting controls. This top floor is mostly card games and multiplayer games, like this driving game, but it has card games that, again, will save your progress, and you buy the cards from vending machines, and some of them are rare, and it's sort of like a Magic the Gathering type thing. And everywhere you go, there's noise, people, machines yelling at you in English and in Japanese, and songs, and especially in an arcade, but malls, everywhere in the city I went. Here's the machines that sell the trading cards. I had bought some Godzilla ones. I did not actually see the Godzilla game, but I got some cards. A Taiko machine. Here's some standard gashpon with toys. And that was level 4 and 3, and this is level 2. And I think 2 and 1 are both these UFO grabber machines, which almost every arcade or large building has at least a floor or 2 of these. Here's some more gashpons. And this is Kamen Rider Drive, which is the one that was popular while I was there. Those are all Kamen Rider Drive various things for the show. And Kamen Rider is Masked Rider from the 90s in America. Same thing, but it keeps going, just like Sentai and Power Rangers. And yeah, these UFO machines were everywhere, and they have like good prizes, like $20 action figures and things like that. It's not just junk. And I apologize for this terrible camera work that is probably making you sick, but as I said before, sometimes they were funny about filming, so I went early when there weren't many people there and sort of just walked briskly while holding it down at waist level. That's Hatsune Miku, the Vocaloid. She is not a real person, but has real concerts and real CDs, and people know her even over here. It's like synthesized voices and music, and this is not where I came in, but downstairs is where the real arcade is, and I love the way it immediately changes. There's like brass and wood, and it's all Dragon Ball Z and Gundam games. Again, sorry for this terrible camera work. And you're allowed to smoke certain areas down here, which is unusual. And you can just see, even though it's during the day, on a weekday, there's still people in here playing. And it's just banks and banks of Gundam machines and Dragon Ball Z machines. And they're all versus fighting type games, which is why people are in there, because it's like competitive. I think there might have been one or two others, but that was pretty much it.
This is an area that has what seems like consignment. All these boxes, I believe, belong to different vendors or people. They're all full of different types of fandom.
And I forget what they call these shops, but I ended up finding them everywhere, mostly on the higher levels of some of these multi-level buildings, but also just in random shops. They'd have these sort of plexiglass squares that were locked, and each one belonged to a different, either a vendor, a reseller, or just someone like you or me, like, the equivalent of like a yard sale. I thought that was an awesome-looking Chrome Gundam. And they had all kinds of great stuff. Statues. You can see the price here. It's like 6,980 yen is roughly $69. So some of them were collector's prices. Some of them were a little bit less expensive. I took a lot more pictures than I did buy anything. There was a lot of loose, which was nice because you don't get to see a lot of loose stuff in the actual toy stores. And it was very clear some of them were like, somebody had a collection of Evangelion and they're getting rid of this guy is about ready to get mad at me. Don't take a picture of me. But you can see this is a big area of cases. It's not even in a store, really. But then to the right of it, there's more of them, and that's the store. This was some Japanese wrestling stuff. My friend Chris wanted me to get him some Japanese wrestling stuff. The only thing I could find were these cards. So I got him some cards. He had, I think, hoped for a T-shirt or something like that. And as I may have mentioned before, T-shirts, posters, things like that for any property ended up being extremely difficult to find. I found pretty much nothing. Here's some Star Wars Black Series, which are common in America, and I guess they're semi-uncommon there because they were definitely behind glass with like collector's prices. I guess the equivalent of like Ultraman figures here or things like that. And these are what we know as Muscle Men, but there it's Kinnikuman, and just like a lot of the properties we got here briefly, it's a lot more popular and goes on longer. These are large 12-inch figures. These are Metacom or Real Action Heroes, Ultraman, and I forget that's one of the space sheriffs, and they go for hundreds of dollars. They're like beautiful Barbies and statues, and a lot of high-end stuff that even at reduced used prices are still very expensive, but very worth taking pictures. And unlike a lot of other places, most of these shops don't mind that I'm taking pictures, I guess because it's not their stuff. It's just, oh, that guy's not here, who owns it? I don't care if you take pictures. Or if, arguably I could be, and actually I was sending a few of these to people I knew, like, hey, do you want this? Like, you see my dumb face in there. Do you want these? Does this interest you? And so I think that's a plausible reason to be taking pictures, in addition to me just treating the place as a museum. But yeah, I went through most of this building, and in here was more of a traditional store, and I checked their prices, and they weren't much better than eBay. I came home with a lot less stuff than I thought I would. Yellow Submarine was a store up the top, but I had to go right when I saw it, so I'm not sure what was in it. Picked up some CC Lemon, which is sort of a medicine, but it's also a good lemonade, and then I hooked up the cube. So now that Q and I were together, I went back out to town, and as I mentioned, you could see now there's more cars and trucks and people walking around. It wasn't a madhouse or anything, but it's more like what you'd expect for midday in a city. Here was some kind of sex shop, I guess. I didn't actually go in. That guy was a fantastic dance instructor. We keep in touch. And there's the Sega building. There's so many cool buildings. Not just the signs and everything, but the architecture. Okay, here we went to 7-Eleven to see if we can get tickets to eat at the Final Fantasy Cafe, which you had to buy tickets ahead of time. And there's this weird machine that you buy them from, and we had a really hard time figuring it out. Like, was there no time available, or were we just not figuring it out because it was in Japanese? Eventually, we gave up and just figured we'd go there and see if we could get it and try our luck. We did not get in. Here's some vending machines. Had some classic Ultraman. I think I got one out of there. Ended up being a Zofi. And here's some Dragon Ball Gashpons. Q ended up getting a bunch of these. They were only 200 yen, which is... These are outside a store, another multi-level store. Might have been a Liberty 7. There's a few of those Hobby Figure Liberty 9. They're all a chain that are multi-level. This was a weird section. I thought it was like a catalog order where you could buy things, but I guess they were selling. I mean, I'm sorry, they were buying your things if you were selling, because the prices seemed great. They were like half or less. And this is me going, whoa, because I went up to the top, and there was a lot of porn, and potentially the higher you went, it may have turned into some sort of mild prostitution. So I left and went back down to where the toys were. This looked like some kind of chibi Ultra Heroes, and it was empty, and it made me sad. They were apparently 300 yen each. This is definitely a Liberty 7. That's a Great Mazinger statue. I was going to say it's life-size, but life-size would be like Godzilla size. He's human size. He was pretty awesome. I decided to take him home. No, I did not take him home. As you could tell, they chained him up because many people had tried to take him home. But I did fight off some monsters with him, so that was lovely. And there was this girl statue behind him, I'm assuming from some anime. I'm not sure what it was from, but it was weird because she looked like an adult-ish or teenager, but was small like a child. A sign that said "Eat Meat" seemed very random. I did not know where it was or why it was in English. There's more Gashpon machines. Q is getting Yokai Watch, which is sort of a Pokemon game over there that I'm still surprised hasn't made it big here. And then there was Astronaut Animals, which had, as far as I know, no meaning other than being a capsule toy, or a Gashpon, as it were. Some more buildings. And we were basically just cruising around, hitting all the toy stores we could in Akihabara before we left for Odaiba that evening. And I'm pointing at the sky because that is the limit. And I got, this was a Lipton tea that I did not enjoy as much as the Royal Milk tea. And I think that was the last time I got this. Here we are again. You can see there's a maid up in the, I don't know what you call that, balcony. And she was calling down to people to come up and, a hostess maid. I'm using those terms interchangeable. I never went to any of those cafes, shockingly. Finally, we made it to Mandarake, and we were exhausted. This was me in the elevator just bending my legs a little bit. And this is another multi-level, a lot of vintage. This was me squeeing with Delight minutes later. We were both exhausted. We should not have saved this for last because it was one of the best. That is from Zoo Ranger. That would be Burai's Dino Buckler, which is the equivalent of the Green Ranger in America. $900 in the box. This was all vintage stuff. It was half of a museum, basically, where I just wanted to take pictures of everything and look at all these toys that some I didn't know existed, some I had only ever seen, on the internet or in magazines, and had tons and tons of great stuff. I actually did spend a little bit of money here. Not any of these super crazy vintage things, but I got more modern stuff at super low prices. One thing I got that I was pretty happy about was a Ginga Spark, which was for Ultraman Ginga. I'd picked up some vinyl Spark dolls, which when you touch them with the Henshin morphing device he has, actually talk and say their names and stuff, but you need the device, and it was like $40, $60, something like that, and I got it here for like $4 because it was out of the box used, but it worked fine. It was an amazing deal find that could have only happened in Japan. I was really happy about that. And I picked up a few other things, some SH Figuarts accessories, but like I said, it's mostly great for the vintage stuff. That was a card shop. There's a lot of collectible card game shops that's all they specialized in. And we were heading out now, going for dinner. We passed this Gundam Cafe statue, but we did not go in. We were heading back towards our hotel and towards Yodobashi, which is an electronics store primarily, but it's again like 8 stories tall, and on the top they had places to eat. Here's us going under an underpass. And it was really difficult for me to eat as a vegetarian there. This was some weird Japanese pizza, which we did not get. We ended up going to this place. It was called, Pepper Lunch Dinner. And it was a steak place, actually. So Q got some kind of steak dish. But they had a vegetarian platter. Here I am being impressed by it. How to cook pepper rice. And basically how to cook is pull the paper off after 2 minutes, which I did. And it was sort of steamed vegetables. They were fine, not particularly filling. And I got a side of French fries, yes. So this is why it's good. I brought those granola bars for my protein. because everything else was just starch. This was Q's dish. She was eating meat at that time, and so she had a much more substantial dish, and probably most people that liked meat would eat it. We went upstairs to the electronics store, and like I said, it's sort of billed as an electronics store, but the toy selection was crazy. Here you can see all the Mario, and there's a Moonwalker. There's a fun commercial. And here's a Gamera. That's SH Monster Arts. All like high-end imports here, and they're still expensive there, but they're just in the regular store. Great displays. Again, like this is for new stuff too, but it just almost looks like museum displays. Way better than anything we'd have here for our toys or even their toys. And there's a lot of interactive, monitors and things like that, like the commercial you just saw. That's Daitarn 3, and that's like a, I don't know, $150 figure mixed in with a bunch of others. They're all really, really high-end stuff. Which were a bit cheaper there than they are here, but not significant. Or at least not enough that if I wanted them, it was worth paying the extra, fee to get it shipped home or fitting it in a bag, which I couldn't fit it in. So really the benefit was less getting them for a cheaper price than I could potentially get them for, and more seeing the amazing displays and taking pictures of them and treating stores once again as museums, which if you're a toy collector, you'll be doing a lot while you're there. I mean, like here, there's an awesome Charmander and a Mega Man, and I don't collect Pokemon or Mega Man, but like those figures are great. This is the machine Atashi, I'm saying that wrong, from Akiba Rangers, which is the Sentai series, which I enjoy quite a bit, and the figures and a bunch of other stuff. It was semi-current at that time, and again, it's just it's great. Like I want these displays in my house, and so many, like you can see the cardboard in back. I want to just like steal those and bring them home, and it's good that I don't live there in some ways because I'd be broke. The other thing they had, and again, this was the electronics store, so they had restaurants on top, they had electronics, they had luggage, they had CDs, they had phones, computers, and then just all kinds of high-end toys. Here's all the Ultra Hero toys. It was better than Toys R Us. We had gone to Toys R Us, which was a lot of fun, and it had a charm that it was Toys R Us. But in terms of the things that interested Q and I, and in terms of the higher adult collectibles, Yodobashi was amazing. Here's a floor mat. It's got Mazinger Z and a Kamen Rider, I believe that is, and it's just huge. It's just like, and again, it gives me that sort of Comic-Con feeling, but just like every day there, I guess. And here's some more. There's an endless supply of pictures of robots and things while I was there. There's Mazinger Z is a big robot hero there in various iterations. That's Mazen Kaiser iteration. More Muscle Men / Kinnikuman. And again, those displays are great. You can see they have the little classic Muscle Men on the side. The Ultra Act is what the Ultra Heroes, Ultraman and his brothers and stuff are created under. This is from a famous anime, Captain Harlock, and that's his ship, the Arcadia. This is a second version or third version, I believe. This is Doraemon as a combiner. He's the little blue robot cat in the middle. He's sort of like a funny little character that they made into some kind of combiner transformer with all the other little funny characters. Oh, and also models. Just aisles and aisles of model kits and specialty things for the models and displays of the models and racetrack cars, like little slot cars, but like the size of Hot Wheels. They also have American toys. These Star Wars figures were about the same retail as they are here. That Chopper figure, could not find in America. I bought it in Japan. This is a neat sort of holographic interactive display for Kamen Rider Drive figure and his car. They had a lot of stuff like this. Like I said, their displays just in every way surpass ours. Some would call it garish or outlandish or in your face. I call it lovely. They had a lot of vinyls or sofubi. There was 2 different sizes. The Spark dolls were a little bit smaller. Very cheap, like $3, $4, $5. We got a bunch, and when I look at these pictures, I'm like, oh, I should have got more. Look at them all. This is all Kamen Rider Drive stuff. They have various levels of expensiveness for the figures and the morphers. You can see the belts and things, and it's amazing. And a lot of them were on display, and they'd have interactive things, and people would come by and show you. It reminds me of like when you watch like The Christmas Story or something, in the way like FAO Schwartz used to be, where they're like very good customer service. This was set up. These are the equivalent of the Megazords for kids to play and mix and match. But these are like $60 figures. If you want to get them here, they're even more. But they're just set up to play. And that was the current Sentai, which is again Power Rangers and the Ninja. And those were, I think $4 each, maybe $6, if that. And again, great displays. Here was some toilet paper that was, you know, Sentai brand, which if I had more room, I would have bought. A lot of stuff, if I had more room, would have bought. And here's the same thing, only for Ultraman. And these are a little bit smaller because these are the Spark dolls, which for whatever reason they decided to make a slightly smaller scale, but interactive with the Genga Spark, which, like I said, I got for a used cheap one at Mandarake. More Ultra Heroes. We went to a bunch of stores that had these, and I think each time we got at least one or two. So we started off with like 2 or 3, and by the end we had like 10. Oh, such a great Ultraman display. I want that for my house so bad. Steal that for me, someone in Japan. Mail it to me. Oh, look at this guy. What a nerd doing a Specium beam. Grow up, you loser. It's me. It's me, guys. There's another one I would love to steal. There's a lot of signage. I'm more impressed with the signage than the figures in some ways, because I know I could get the figures here, even if I have to pay a few bucks more. And these were wind-up figures from the Ultraman line, and these were about $8 each. I'd got some at Toys R Us for $2 each, and I did not realize what a good deal it was, or I would have bought all of them. There's some Godzilla vinyls, as you'd expect. The ones in the middle there are little egg toys that transform. They're very big there. A few of them you can get here. I never understood the appeal. These are Marvel superheroes. You can see Thor and War Machine done in this sort of blocky style over there. There's some Dragon Ball Z vinyls. This whole video is a lot of, hey, look at these toys. Ninja Turtles with Japanese packaging. I was tempted to get that, but I didn't really want the figure. I just wanted the cool Japanese packaging for Splinter. This is a line, it looked kind of Lego-y. I don't remember if I even knew what it was. I just thought they were cool, bricky monster figures. And here's some Transformers with Japanese packaging, but I did not particularly like these Transformers. More Yokai Watch. And again, like that red cat-looking guy is sort of like the Pikachu of the line. I thought this was a cool Transformers display because he had like the G1 and the movie and Prime and Rodimus, and like it was just a cool mashup of bunch. This was the PlayStation that transforms into an Optimus, which would be awesome, except it doesn't actually play games, so it's less cool. And some Mega Mans and some Luigis and, you know, Nintendo stuff abounded. And again, this is not, I mean, it's a toy store, but it wasn't billed as a toy store. It's a multi-level electronics store that has a toy store better than Toys R Us in it, which is just crazy. This is all Pokemon, all little Pokemon. Just every Pokemon you could think of, just there. Which one do you want? 101 plus all the others. This is a 66 line, which has Ultraman, Dragon Ball, a couple other series, which I remember seeing and thought was cool, and they have since come here. And if you watch my Toy Shots video, I have that exact Bolton Stasian, which I got at the Mitsuya Japanese grocery store by my house, and Q's got some others. These, I'm super bummed out that we didn't get. These are all mini Sentai sets that from the older series that didn't become Power Rangers. The mecha and the vehicles. None of them were yet for sale. Or at least we couldn't find them, and nobody seemed to have them. So I think it was like advertising they were coming out, and now they're very expensive, and you know they're too much that I want to pay for. But if I could have got them at retail, there would have been great. This was just an awesome Heisei looking, 90s looking Godzilla, and this led into like the movie section, which we didn't go into. Another card game. This was like an Ultraman video game card game. I didn't play it, but I took a picture of that. More Gachapon machines, a lot of Kamen Rider Drive, as I said. Those little cars were collectible. Like, you collect them all, and you put them in his belt, and they make different sounds. And here's Kamen Rider Drive card games. That one I did play a little bit, but not here. And you can see bikes for sale. This store was crazy. And that I just took a picture because it was an Ultraman poster. I'm like, I like an Ultraman, so there's a poster. Click. Oh, there's me with Godzilla. I had to make sure he knew that I was, you know, down with the Godzilla. Horror. And they were advertising chips. That's right, California Highway Patrol, guys. What goes better with Godzilla than that? And why it's just coming out now, I don't know. And then a bank of Gashapon machines. And then we decided to head out. On our way to the train station, we looked at this crazy guy. He was outside a restaurant, and he was like super America, I guess. He is a hot dog wrapped in a flag, putting ketchup on himself, and he eats himself. Welcome to the Hot Dog Cafe, America. Next to the train station in this little corridor was the Tamashii Nation's showroom, which is literally just an open area where there'd be like a shoeshine box or something filled with whatever the newest Tamashii Nation SH Figure Arts figures are, which is Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Naruto, things like that. And we were in Japan for 2 weeks, so I think I swung by this place 2 or 3 times, and at least once it had changed a little bit, and once it changed huge parts. And this is all stuff that was either just came out or would be coming out, like these effect parts. And that was a prop replica of some gun. I don't know what it was for. But it was really fun to go in there because it was they weren't selling most of it. I think they had a small, you know, a couple things they were selling in the corner, but for the most part, it was an unmanned little showroom, again, museum-y type thing, just to be like, hey, look what's coming out. It's awesome. Don't you want it? And I was like, yes. And then I had to go home. But we were getting on a train to go down to Odaiba to Universal Studios, where we were going the next day. So we spent this one day in Akihabara, and we would eventually come back. Don't worry. Oh, there's Doraemon. He's the little cat guy that was in the big Transformer I talked about before. These displays are fantastic. And so this was all like last minute, and there's Gamera with these. If they sold these sets, they would do really well. But I imagine they hire someone to build them out of model kits and stuff, just to make everybody want the figure more. And the figure is great, but honestly, having the diorama with it is what really sells it to me. And there's Grandizer and his Spazer. Yeah, so we were going down to Odaiba. We ended up getting on a train, which I forget, it was like an express train. It ended up not being too expensive either, and it was very nice, and it went quickly. I'm talking about that, I know, while we're still looking at toys, but I know that time will be limited when we get to the later part of the video. And there's some more Mario, and these, I would say most of these SH Figure Arts stuff, the Tamashii Nations, you could get in America through Bluefin Distributor for a very small markup, which is why, again, the display is most of what was exciting about this to me. That crater that looks like a molten rock still has not come out here in America, as far as I know. At least as of the time I'm recording this. That one. Hey, there's a nice close-up look for you. And that was neat. They had like a force screen for the, I think that's an Ava. That's a new part. And they had these cool sort of military ship setups. Every franchise had its own like theme. I don't know what this was, but clearly Love Live. Maybe it's like a American Idol, but it's an anime or a manga. And then back to the warship. And so, like I said, we were getting on the train, and it wasn't going to be dinner for a long time, and I had just had that like steamed stuff. So I got some orange water and some corn pottage. It looks like I'm spraying one into the other, but that's just a bag in the background. And that corn pottage, which I was a fan of, I had had once before, was warm. And like many of the things that I got that were warm, was delicious. And it was basically like creamy corn soup. And that's cute. That's my DS. And she's saying fart not nicey, because my default says fart taste nicey. She got sick of seeing that. I don't know why I took a picture of this. This was the toilet on the train. And this is the line we were taking. You could see we were going down to Universal City. So that is the Japanese rail line. And when we were transferring, we just saw the Obama line. And so we thought about visiting the president, but we decided to continue on since we had reservations, as it were. And you can see this is an example of like sort of, I want to call it the subway map, but it's actually just the regular train map, which were fairly straightforward, but we still managed to have to stare at it for a while, and we got there. We got there. This was us coming in to the Southgate building, and where we got in, it put us right next to Universal, and then we had to actually walk to our hotel. So the train was actually closer to the theme park than our hotel, and it wasn't far. It was like a mile away. This is the hotel. It had weird little like jellyfish. And this is the Universal Port Hotel. These were not real, but they were made to look real. And this was just in the hallways. There was the odd light, and they were animated. And similarly, this is the elevator. It had this crazy blue light. Like, the whole thing had this weird water theme, I guess because it was the Port Hotel, but it wasn't like it was right next to water or something. So it was odd. It felt like being in a really boring rave. And out front, they did have a cool theme, I guess, because it was Universal. Like, that's the sign, welcome. And they had a bunch of, like, sort of proppy stuff. Like, oh, somebody ran through that wall, like a cartoon. But we were starving, and nothing was open. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, at least without having a car it was. And this was the inside. They had, like, a little hotel restaurant that was open for, like, 30 more minutes. So we sat down. There's Q waiting austerely. And then I sat down, and I waited like a thoughtful man waiting. But yeah, we got like a Coke each, and I think she got a salad. Actually, she wasn't as hungry as me because she had had that steak thing. So she got a salad, and I got some kind of weird omelet that I got without meat, and it was like okay. It was almost like Mexican tasting. There's her salad with the sauce, and I was paranoid that the sauce wasn't vegetarian, so I couldn't really enjoy it. And I feel like we paid like $20 for that. It was like probably way overpriced. Oh, this is the yeah. You'd walk by and it would be like, "Let me out of here," in like a bunch of different languages: Japanese, English, French, Spanish, whatever. It was a very gimmicky hotel, which we didn't know going in, but I loved it because I love gimmicky stuff. And while we were there in March, they were already celebrating, I guess, Easter. So it's Happy Smile Easter next month, guys, right? Happy Smile Easter for the Americans and whoever else. I mean, it's not just like Americans stay there. So I don't know. And again, here, this is to the outside. There's water on either side. We went outside and we were hanging around just getting some night air in the smoking area. And there was a woman there who started talking to us in some broken English. And she was very excited. She's like, American? And we're like, yeah. And she's like, oh, man. And then she like ran and got her daughter, who was a teenager, who was learning English. And she's like, chance, to talk. Oh, and here's a fun sign. There was, would you stick a butt in the snowman that your child built? Well, that's how it happens. It wasn't anti-smoking. It was just more like being polite about your smoking, but it was a funny way of putting it. But anyway, she was very excited to see us. We were very excited to see her. She was speaking her bad English. We were speaking our worst Japanese. And it culminated with her and I singing in Japanese the theme song to the Ultra 7 TV show, which made my trip complete, and I was ready to go home at that point. But instead, we went back up to the hotel in our boring rave elevator and looked out on what would be our exciting adventure the next day. You could almost see Universal Studios, and I went over my toys. We're coming to the end of the video now. And I had gotten a couple Ranger keys from Toys Golden Age, which was a fun little shop that I showed you in the beginning that wasn't open. I went back there, and it was very much like a rummage sale-y kind of dig through stuff, and I couldn't find much I wanted. I bought these 2 Ranger keys, which were from Sun Vulcan, and I asked the guy, Ranger key, Sun Vulcan, doko desu ka? And, just kind of, like, again, practicing my terrible Japanese just to be able to talk to a guy. And he pointed them out to me. He's like, oh, here you go. And right now I'm just going through the toys I got throughout the day. And it was I enjoyed the conversation such as it was, but that is one thing I found disappointing, is that I really thought there'd be more of a nerd collector culture, like not out in the open, but like when you went into a toy store or a comic store. And I know I don't speak Japanese, so it would be difficult for me to participate, but I guess I'm just used to that experience of walking into a comic store and there's like 5 nerds sitting there arguing about something, or looking at comics or whatever. And I didn't find any, maybe in smaller towns, maybe because I was in a big city, but I didn't find any areas where the nerds were congregating in that way, where I could even try to overhear or kind of, jokingly say a few Japanese words about how I like what they got going on, But it didn't stop me from enjoying myself. These are all Ranger keys, Japanese Ranger keys. I got these for less than $2 each, which was an amazing deal. I bought every single one they had. I went back a few days later, and the few that they had left, there were duplicates, were gone. So maybe somebody realized they were undercharging. This is just stuff I got out of vending machines. More Ranger keys. I bought a lot of Ranger keys while there because that was something that was super cheap compared to American standards and easy to get home in my bag. So that made a no-brainer that, and plus I'm trying to theoretically collect them all. Robot was another cool store we went to. And, we were settling down for the night. Here's some of Q's gashpons, which were mostly all Dragon Ball Z, if I remember correctly. And I was still hungry. I was hungry a lot. I got these, which looked like kind of potato chips things, and they were disgusting. They look like sort of French fry sticks. But then I got Chip Star, and they were delicious. Yum. Anyway, one last thing before I go. This was our hotel room door from the inside. And what's weird is the peephole was really low down. Like, if you look, it's even with the handle. And the handle is where you'd think it was. So you'd have to, like, kneel down. Like, maybe if you were, like, bowing. Or, like, maybe it's for the servants to look in. I don't know what that was. But what it was day 5 for Gazbot in Japan. See you next time for day 6.